Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Doctor. It is 4:53 p.m., but you're probably watching this at 8 p.m. tonight. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. It is Tuesday, and I'm sure all of you guys are getting ready to tuck yourselves into bed. We're going to be going over Thancred today. He is a limited time unit, so you can no longer pull him until the next Final Fantasy XIV event comes out. He does have very unique abilities and very powerful skills, though. You will be seeing him a lot in player versus player. He's an important unit to know, and he has the unique job of Gunbreaker. He also has Dragoon and Red Mage as his subs. His master ability is a max HP plus 10% and a slashing attack plus 10. His TMR is Bodyguard Coat, which gives HP plus 584, evasion plus 10, defense plus 10, and light resistance plus 15. So he is overall one of the most beefiest characters that are in the game right now. I actually think, besides Engelbert, he might be one of the more beefier characters out there. I think if he's built right, you know, potentially Mont has nothing on him. Alright, so we start out with an HP of 3,060. Keep in mind that's going to be 3,360 with his HP plus 10%. He has a little bit more AP than most people at AP 126. He has a movement of 3 and a jump of 1, which does hold him back just a little bit compared to other units. However, we're not going to factor that in when we're talking about it because he does have attacks that close the gap, very similar to Gilgamesh. So he does have movement-based attacks that we're going to show you how to dodge and how to avoid. His luck is 164. He does get an additional plus 36 onto that, which is going to be very helpful. His attack is 233. Keep in mind, though, he gets an attack plus 20% passive. He also gets attack plus 42. So he's not going to be the strongest. He's probably going to come in just under 300. And 300 is kind of that benchmark for really strong attack or just kind of okay attack. His magic's in at 70. His speed, unfortunately, is only at 53, with an additional 2 from his ability board, putting him at 55. One of the slower end units, for example, King Eld even has more base agility than he does, so a little surprising here. Dexterity plus 131 with an additional plus 24, and of course he has some things on his board that aren't called out here, so that's going to be that attack plus 20%. He gets astounding defense plus 8, which most units don't have defense plus, so it's really awesome to see that on him. He also gets starting AP plus 2, which is going to help him start off the bat be just that little bit stronger and just that little more obnoxious. Now we're going to go over almost all of his Gunbreaker abilities because there's no other abilities like this in the game, and it's really important that you understand his kit, whether you're going up against him or whether you're using him. So the first thing you should know is you should never be next to him. Most of his kit is focused on attacking a unit either within 4 squares directly in front of, to the side of, or behind of him, or directly in front of him. So we have Keen Age, which is a 2-hit strike at 7x to 33x modifier. Keep in mind that is a double strike, so that is going to be a 66x modifier potentially, with the concept that any additional attack or modifications to slashing damage are going to be multiplied times 2 for that. Could be a very powerful technique. He gets the buff No Mercy, which gives a slash attack of 10 to 25% maximum. Aurora, which he's very well known for, with that regen, gives a 10% regen, which lasts for 3 turns. Heart of Stone raises the target's defense for 3 turns, and it raises it by plus 10 to plus 25, which is very substantial. His Burst Strike, one of those attacks that you're going to be right next to him, 40 times to 75 times with an AP of 16, so that is a very powerful attack. Blasting Zone, even more powerful, within a range of 2, is going to be a 90x to 125x attack, and it's going to be an AP of 28, and it's pretty scary. I would say there is a cast speed associated with this, and you're going to notice there's some other cast speeds associated to his techniques, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about, you know, how that brings out some unique cards that he's probably going to be using as well. Super Bull-Eyed, so it gives a 30 to upwards of 50% damage reduction from 3 attacks, and it takes 15% HP from him. So probably one of the strongest tanking capabilities. You notice there's no 3-turn duration on this. This means he has to be hit 3 times fully for this buff to be taken off. Very powerful ability. I'm thinking about match battles in particular. This could just be incredible. Rough Divide, probably the attack that he's known most for up here in the top right corner. It's a 30x to 65x modifier. This attack is dangerous because Thancred, he has that low mobility, he has that sort of tankiness, and if you keep your distance, you should be kind of okay. But this enables him to close that distance. So what you should always be thinking about when you're going up against a Thancred is how you can position yourself so that Thancred cannot dash towards you and do a Rough Divide. Because there's nothing worse than when he does this and just immediately kills one of your units, or just immediately kills someone on the other side. In addition to that, you're probably going to be seeing Thancred subbed as Dragoon, most often for his jump techniques. So you can see here that the initial Dragoon jump modifier is 55x to 90x with an AP of 16, and it has a range of 2 with a cast speed of 160, right? So that's about, we'll give it roughly about 6 cycles before it'll cast. So when you're starting to think about jump timers as well, you need to really think about how you're manipulating Thancred's agility in order to make sure he's going right at 3rd so that he can be potentially landing these jumps as well. Now his most powerful jump is going to be horizontal jump, and this move pretty much means that you're not safe anywhere you stand on the map. That's hard to think about, but it's a 5 range jump attack. The drawback on this though is that it has a cast speed of 120. So if you think about the cast speed as 120, you can realize that it's almost going to take 7 to 8 cycles before it's fully complete. And when things start to get scary is when you start adding cast time reduction to this. So imagine if this suddenly went from 7 to 8 turns to complete, or cycles, I guess you could say, to 5 turns. So something really scary, something to think about. You're pretty much never safe from Thancred wherever you are, but you should never be right next to him or in front of him without something in between you. He does get a whole bunch of passives. So he gets HP up, which is 5% to 15%. He gets the initial AP up, which is going to be set probably no matter what. So that's going to be a +5 to +15. That's a set no matter what move. He gets his pierce resistance up, he gets missile resistance up, he gets a jump +1, and then he raises magic attack resistance. And I think Thancred is one of those situations where you're actually going to be setting HP +15%. And that's probably something I've never recommended on any of my unit reviews before, but there's such a lack of magic damage and piercing damage, and he already has such high HP. If you consider he had 3300 HP with that passive HP bonus on, with an additional 15% of that, that's an additional 450 HP. That's pretty substantial, and it's putting him very close to 4000 HP, so that's very powerful. In terms of his counters, he does have Jugular Rip, and this is going to be the #1 recommendation from me. So Jugular Rip has a chance to counteract when taking damage. And this is a unique counter because it has a higher percentage activation than most counters actually do in the game. So his counter percentage activation when fully maxed out is 30%. And usually you see something like Dragon's Blade down here that maxes out at a 20% activation. So I would definitely always set Jugular Rip. It does start out with a weakened counterattack, but it does get up to a 21x modifier here. He does get Magic Reflex as well, which makes him very powerful against mages if we ever enter a mage meta, which is quite possible in the future. Stacking this with Magic Attack Resistance is going to be very powerful. And then, of course, we have Dragon's Blade with a 20% activation with a -85x to a -50x modifier. So that is going to be 50% of HP absorbed according to the damage that you did. If you guys make sense of what that sounded like. So if you do 200 damage, you would absorb 100 damage back. In terms of espers for Thancred, we're going to recommend Golem, of course, for that tankiness, that additional HP, that additional defense. Maneater is always going to help. We're also going to recommend Ifrit, because he's going to give that ice resistance, that additional missile resistance, and he's going to give that piercing bonus if you are going to be using those jump techniques, if you're going to be focusing on the Dragoon subjob. Definitely a bonus there. Similar with Siren. Siren's going to have a higher agility. I actually would probably not recommend Siren because you want to go last with your use of Dragoon jump abilities. So I would actually say Siren is your last choice here, just because she does add pierce attack, but she also gives that agility, which could hinder you a little bit. Odin, of course, with his Man Killer. And then I'm actually going to recommend here Iron Giant. And the reason I'm going to do that is Iron Giant has quite a few things in his kit to help make Thancred a little bit stronger. He has slash attack, he has slash attack resist, he has HP up, he's not going to add that much agility, so it's going to be a very nice balance added in where he's probably not going to be the fastest unit on the field, but he's not going to be deathly behind, which is exactly where you need to be when you are thinking about Thancred and how you're going to build him. In terms of his resistances, Thancred, I mean, he's a beefy boy, you guys. He's got 20% slash resist, 5% pierce resist, 35% fist resist, 20% missile resistance, 30% weak to magic. Having Ifrit shout out as that ice bonus is just going to help him against Medina even a little bit more. So you might want to think about this in terms of how you are going to build him. And finally, for his cards, there's a couple interesting ones here. Of course, we have the Final Fantasy card that came out, which is going to give light attack up. So he's one of the few units that can actually benefit from that. We're going to have Golem for the high base stats, Ifrit for the high base stats. And then I actually think the #1 card for him is going to be Will of the Strongest here in the top right corner. Because not only is that going to give critical damage up, it's actually going to give a party-wide casting reduction of -50, which is essentially a 5% reduction if you think about it in terms of casting, but in terms of also cycle counts, it could increase the cycle count of Jump 1 to 2 cycles. Probably his most powerful card he could get, and he doesn't even have to have it equipped in order to benefit from it. Moraga, of course, for the slashing bonus and high base stats. We have Run Through the Snowfields next to Moraga. That's going to be the piercing attack up if you're going to be focusing on the Lancer abilities. Ramza for that agility plus and slashing attack plus. Again, though, I'm not sure you want to set that agility plus, but also you have to keep in mind you are a unit combination, so there are 2 other units that need to benefit, especially in a PvP environment. Odin for the Man-Eater and the attack resistance down. I think Odin next to Will of the Strongest would be probably the second best card you could set for him. Oath of Love, of course, because he's going to be more of a tanky character. He's going to be a really good option for Oath of Love. High survivability. And of course, if you just want flat defense and spirit, Leonis Castle is going to be a very powerful card that you can always set on him. Alright, you guys, I hope I was able to help a little bit with the breakdown on Thancred here. If you guys have any more information or any questions, make sure you drop it down in the comments section. And please remember, I do try to respond to all the comments. Make sure you come join our Discord. It is, I'm learning not to say it Discord. It's a little bit difficult. Make sure you come in and say hi to us. We are definitely always available and always around. Just ping us, we're here, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. Thank you so much, you guys, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.